Welcome back to Retro Wednesday at the Tidarium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about the Jocsa Rambo variants, the ones that weren't released in the US, released in South America, whether it be Brazil or it be these from Argentina. But today I'm going to talk to you about these variants and the differences between them. It's kind of interesting that other countries continued this line when the US did not. And I find that fun as a collector. We're going to talk about this coming up. So I'm going to break this video down into two parts. I'm really going to talk about what I have, the couple pieces, and then everything else I kind of know of and understand, talk about all that stuff in the later part of this video. But looking in front of me right now, as you can see right here, I do have two different versions of Troutman. So I've got the standard US one, and I have the Jocsa one, and there are differences there. I also have the Skyfire and what they call the Speed Attack helicopter, and we're going to look at the differences there. And let's look at Troutman to start. So looking at these two figures side by side, two Troutmans, it's the same exact mold. Everything is exactly the same on them, and the difference is the paint deco, which I think actually looks more interesting on the Desert version. And it was kind of, I hear it's inspired by Desert Storm at the time, so that's kind of interesting too. But looking at this, they have the same accessories, except the one that was released for the Jocsa version has a lot less accessories. And you look at it, it's basically missing all of this giant backpack and the big gun and the complexity. So they made it, well, a lot simpler, more simple, and got rid of some of the stuff that makes it harder to manufacture and just went simple. And I don't mind that at all, because some of these backpacks don't work anymore and a lot of that. So when you look at long-term collecting, but he still has this gun. He still has his little handset there, device that he uses. And of course, all of the rest of the hardware, such as this, he does have that knife holster and all that, except it depends on how you want to set it up. And he does have the same gun and the same gun holster. Now, I always thought Troutman came with a ridiculous amount of accessories, so I got a spare one here that has no accessories, I guess just a gun. But looking at this Troutman here, you can see that they carried over the exact same paint apps. And it even says US Army on it still. Well, this one's kind of faded a bit, but this one still says US Army on it. So I thought that was kind of interesting, being released in another country. Just kind of something fun and interesting. But of course, obviously, the paint apps just match up, and they just use pretty much the same type of production on both of these figures. So there it is, and we can pan out just a little bit and see them both from behind. Again, they made a whole bunch more. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. So looking at these two helicopters, the biggest difference between the two is the coloring, of course. It's just the same exact helicopter recolored. But when I get to pulling some parts out of this box, you're going to notice some of the parts are actually way different. I outfitted this guy here with some extra Skyfire parts I had laying around just to kind of make it look good without having to take anything off of the sprues. Alright, so looking at the parts here, the blades look almost exactly the same. The missiles look almost exactly the same. These parts here that actually connect the rotors, they are slightly different. It's like a lighter shade of gray. So, slightly different. You're going to notice the difference would be the wings. Drastic difference. And they match the color of the nose cone, as you can see. So that's different. And then all the pieces that connect to the wings are that color. Also, same color is this piece here, the exhaust that I did not connect to it. And then here is, these are the landing skids, and they're a different color. Of course, they match the actual helicopter itself. But what really surprised me when I looked at this was no electronics. The light is non-functioning. The light, there's no electronics at all in the light. And that's saving some money, you know. There's saving some production cost. You can see right through where the switch is supposed to go. But I'm so used to seeing these with lights and trying to make them work again. It's odd to see it with no electronics in it. And as you can see, the gun, it matches the same color. See a little better like that. It matches the color of the helicopter. In case you're wondering, I still function. Yes, it still has the rotor spinning, the propeller spinning gimmick. It still works. So kind of looking at these side by side, you can kind of see this coloring is different. And this doesn't have stickers on it, but if it had stickers, the stickers are different. This would say the Brigada del Deserto. I think that's how you pronounce it. And that would be here. And you can see like the symbol right here would be on the nose cone. That's that sticker. It doesn't have this sticker, which of course it's rebranded for something different. But these pieces here that hold in all of the parts there, the handles and all that stuff, that's a different color also. So really, I mean, they recolored pretty much everything on it aside from the propellers. So now, if you're going to install the hook, you got to have some string. And I was like, why did they install or include the world's thinnest string? Hope the camera can pick that up. That's like the thinnest string I've ever seen. I mean, yeah, they were cutting corners and trying to make it as cheap as possible. And I appreciate that in a way. But wow, this is super thin. I barely even saw it. All right, let's take a quick look at this box. And what can the box tell us? Well, we do see Rambo in there. That's good. It's called the Speed Attack instead of the Skyfire helicopter. And of course, it is not in English. So looking down here, it does show, maybe I should have translated some of this stuff before I did this, but it shows that the helicopter still has that function. It shows that you can push your little missiles off. It shows that you can hold, it actually just shows you holding on, him holding on to that, but it is connected by a really small amount of rope there. And then it shows this light, but doesn't show it lit up. So not as a function or a feature. You see down here, Rambo Gold. And we see the Jocsa symbol up there. Looking at the top of the box, we've got Rambo in there. Now this angle here, you see the Rambo is different. He's got a different color lower body on it. So that's kind of cool. I'd like to get my hands on one of them. The symbol right there, Speed Attack helicopter. And then looking at the back, just kind of shows the helicopter, the different colors and stuff, and then it'll show everything. Interesting thing here, it shows like a darker, like maybe a black colored gun when it includes more of a tan colored gun. So the packaging always has some sort of different variations from the prototype and all that stuff. And I was kind of hoping on here, this is the best part of the box, and there it is. So I'm going to be snapping a lot of high-res pics from this and using this for videos. And that's one fun part about this. So we're going to get into that section next. Okay, so the figures in the Desert Brigade are all based on the US release figures and just recolors. Recolored into desert type of paint. And here's the thing, they, for the most part, have the same accessories. Most part. Some of them are scaled down in accessories, but it would be interesting to get these. Now, I haven't really gotten into Series 2 yet, but with Series 2, of course, we have this guy here. We have X-Ray, and X-Ray looks really cool like this. So I would like to get this version of X-Ray also. That would be a lot of fun. That would be kind of cool. And I really think this is an interesting figure in itself with the robotic kind of arm missile launcher. And he did use light piping back in the 80s. And the light piping works very well with this guy. But more on that when I do Series 2. Other things I'd like to see and get my hands on would be like the recolored Defender 6x6. I think this recolored Defender 6x6 is a whole lot of fun. The vehicle itself is kind of cool. But again, there's only a few parts that you could swap from US version. So if you get one incomplete, it'd be really hard. We also have this other thing that Jocsa made. And it's the Storm Bomber. This thing is pretty cool in itself. It's just strange. I don't know how well this would have sold in the US. This might have been one of those that went to clearance right away. But you actually do push the button and bombs drop. It is kind of interesting. And I bet you it was a really low price point. Doesn't look like there's a lot to it. But then again, doesn't look like any ever show up anywhere. Ever. They also made this other Skyfire, and it's based off of Metal Man. Metal Man, I think, is the name of the line, and so it's exact same from a different toy line, but they just put it out with Skyfire name, and it's just different than what we got with Skyfire. It looks like something from MASH 4077. It would be really cool to have this. Again, I saw this up for sale. I didn't really understand what it was. I thought it was a knockoff also, but I still thought it was kind of cool. Again, these things command such a high price. You got to think twice or three times before you go to picking one of these up. But if you're seriously after one of these, it's going to take you a while to find one. So out of everything that's out there, I think the coolest thing that never got released, or if it did get released, there's just no evidence of it, is the 8x8. And I do think this is cool. And I was looking around trying to find one of these. I actually found one, but it's not for this toy line. Now, the Spiral Zone toy line has what's called the Bull Whip, and it's kind of an interesting toy. It's still rare and hard to find, but it's not impossible to find, and it's a pretty interesting vehicle. Now, I don't know a whole lot about it. I don't know how many figures you can incorporate in it, what all it does, what that back piece does. I don't know, but it's still really cool, and it gets me thinking. The Spiral Zone toy line, 6-inch figures, and Rambo's are about 7-inch figures, so they can interchange the figures on this vehicle, so they can make this vehicle in two different lines, and it still works. Speaking of other toy lines, there's also the Terminator 2 version of the Skyfire. This helicopter, the Hurricane Star, is pretty interesting. They went all out with the paint scheme on this one here. And then there's a red one. Now, I'm not sure if this red one was part of a toy line or somebody just did a custom, because it's very possible somebody could just do a custom. You could just take an old Skyfire and make a custom out of it. It's possible. I don't know if that's what happened there, but it would be kind of fun to have all the different colors of the rainbow, wouldn't it? So I hope you enjoyed this quick comparison of the US versus the Jocsa version of the Skyfire or the Speed Attack helicopter. Of course, helicopter is one of my favorites, and I look to get more of these and do more of these comparisons, or just take a look at something that was made for the Jocsa line that was not made for the US line. Let me know in the comments below what you think about all of this. Variations. Are you a variant collector? Do you like variants? Do you like seeing this stuff? Or do you just like to have only what was available back in the day in the US or in your country? If you're in a different country, I'd be interested in hearing what other things are out there that I don't know about. Like and subscribe. Titanium Hanger out.